Have you been struggling lately with your focus? You've been feeling like you're being pulled in a million different directions, new responsibilities, new roles. And it seems like everybody's making a demand on you, and you just can't stay still to focus on what matters. And what you've been noticing is that you're becoming resentful of the very things that you always prayed for, always hoped for, and always worked so hard for. And it's not just that, you've been becoming resentful of people. But in this video, I want to help you learn how to divide focus without losing focus. So come along, let's get into it. So the first point I have for you is very simple. Progress only happens where there is focus. I learned this the hard way. Now, I remember last year, 2024, in case you're wondering, because you may be watching this video years from now. And 2024, I was trying to do so many things, build a business, progress in my medical career. I was just doing so many things at the same time. And I had gotten to a place of overwhelm, and I had gotten to a place where I was stuck. That's one of the reasons why I'm so stuck to unstoppable profit with peace, because that was the opposite of who I was. I was stuck, wasn't profiting, didn't have peace, right? So when I was there in that situation, it really started to make me resentful because I just didn't know how to divide focus properly without losing focus. I didn't know how to show up where I was needed and still show up for me. Excuse me. I didn't know how to show up where I was needed and still show up for me. So it's one of the reasons I could tell you emphatically that progress only happens where there is focus. And I know you're like, well, if I have more responsibilities, how do I focus? Well, that's the point I'm making, because I want to teach you the skill of dividing focus without losing focus. So when your roles multiply, right, which is what's happening to you now, what's happening to me now in this season, more is going to be required of you, not less. And that's not something to resent. That's not something to be, feel like, OMG, I can't really do this. This is the worst thing that could have happened to me. Why did I get this opportunity? No, 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 no. That's not what we do here. We invite those things because we develop the tools and the skills and the mindset to be able to manage it. So sometimes I've noticed that people tend to have a unipolar view of focus. Every time I've heard people talk about focus, they often talk about what needs to cut off. Stop do this, stop do that, stop do the other. So I had a client and she was sitting some medical exams. She had just had a baby. Her business was booming. She was still working in the hospital while opening a private business in medicine. Had 2 children at the time, had a husband. She had all these things going on. And one of the things you would see her say if you read my website, her testimonial, she was like, one of the things is she didn't have to cut anything off. She just had to learn how to stretch in that season. Because many times the problem isn't cut off, it's capacity. You need capacity. So it's either a cut off problem, you're doing too much, or you don't know how to handle too much. You're not yet at that place to handle too much, and you need to figure out how to build the capacity to handle it, right? So, as I said, we often treat focus like something that must be cut off. You have to cut things off to focus. But in seasons of responsibility, it could actually cost you more than it could help you. Because if you adopt that cut-off strategy, you are missing out on building more capacity. So there's only so much that you can realistically cut off. I've examined my life and I'm like, I could not do this, not do that, not do the other. But then I'm like, no, this isn't solving my problem. I have to be able to be more dexterous at handling this, handling time, handling focus, handling energy. So the question isn't always, how do I do less? Sometimes the question is, how do I manage more without losing my momentum? I want to repeat that for you. The question isn't always, how do I do less? The question is sometimes, how do I manage more without losing momentum? Focus is a tool, not a restriction. I want to repeat that for you again. Focus is a tool, not a restriction. So focus is actually how we make progress in the right direction. Now, let me tell you a definition of progress. Progress is movement in the right direction. If your direction is wrong, that is not progress, even though you may be moving. I want to get that into you. If your direction is wrong and you're moving, that is not progress. You are regressing. You are going backward because the direction is wrong in the first place. So the first thing you must always do before you try to move fast is figure out if you're going in the right direction. Because if the direction is wrong, that's not progress. So your focus may be divided, but it doesn't have to be distracted. And I know you're like, what? It may be divided, but it doesn't have to be distracted. Yes, because I'm going to show you. So let me clearly define what I mean when I say dividing focus without losing focus. Dividing your focus does not mean, number one, spreading yourself so thin that nothing gets done well. I repeat, it does not mean that you are spreading yourself so thin. It's the business, it's the finances, it's the tax, it's all these things. No, it doesn't mean spreading yourself thin. You're showing up as a parent, as a spouse, as a teacher in Bible study. Oh, come on. You're not dividing so thin that you don't do things well. Number two, it's not multitasking needlessly and mindlessly without intention. It's not that. It's not the absence of intentionality. It's the ability to use it strategically. Number three, it's not saying yes to everything out of guilt and fear. And fourthly, it's not constantly reaching instead of planning. Prudent people understand where they're going. So I don't teach people momentum without prudence. That is stupidity. Because a lot of times, and I notice in the business space, people always say, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. And nobody emphasizes, or barely anybody emphasizes, the need for prudence. There is a place for prudence in business. There is a place for prudence in life. Because prudence doesn't mean you don't make moves. It just means that you understand the move before you even make it. So what does divide and focus actually mean? It means allocating focused energy across what matters most. So it means that for you to really be able to divide focus, you have to determine firstly what matters most to you. And then you allocate the right kind of energy toward that, the right kind of time toward that, the right kind of attention toward that. Number two, it means managing many roles with discernment though, and not distraction. So you have to be a little bit quick on the draw. Number three, it means staying centered on your mission even when the tasks change. So you would notice that if you are a CEO of your company, your task would change because when you were a solopreneur and now that you have staffing, something has shifted in your company and you can't be the one doing bookkeeping anymore. That's a waste of your time, energy, and attention. Hire someone to do your bookkeeping, right? And fourthly, it means having multiple assignments but one allegiance. So you know what you're about. This is the one thing that has to get done, but I know I have multiple assignments, right? So this is what I want you to understand. Sometimes managing more begins by redefining what enough looks like. Ooh. When I tell you this is hot off the press, and let me tell you why, because this was me this week. This is literally content that came this week, just a few days ago, because I was living it and I'm coming to help you. Because I don't want you to be stuck like me. I want you to start moving fast, right? So redefine what enough looks like. So as I said, this is hot off the press, right? So just a few days ago, I was struggling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep dropping balls because I see my life like if I'm a juggler, right? So, and I learned this from one of my coaches and mentors. So he doesn't believe in the concept of balance. And when he explained it, I'm like, yeah, true. I don't believe in balance either because nothing is ever going to be in balance. All I'm going to do is just juggle and show up and wear the different hats that I need to at the right time. And so when you're juggling, you only really have two balls in your hand at one given time. You don't hold more than two, but you just keep moving it like this. So I was struggling because I said I keep dropping balls. So I'm trying to juggle, right? And I said I keep dropping balls. And I was doing laundry one night and the Holy Spirit said to me, it's really late in the night, by the way, it's like after 11 at night. And the Holy Spirit says to me, I want you to reframe that. Just so. That's how he spoke to me. He said, I want you to reframe that. And I was a little bit perplexed for a moment because I didn't know how to reframe it. Because I really felt like I was not doing a good job. And this is what came to me at that hour of the night doing laundry. I am showing up in the spaces where I am most needed as my full self. And that means that I cannot show up in other spaces at that time. I want to repeat that for you. I am showing up in the spaces where I am needed as my full self. And that means I cannot show up in other spaces at that time. Do you know what happened to me? I felt the peace of God. I felt it. Because before then, I was feeling so overwhelmed with my career, with business, things in family, church responsibilities, relational responsibilities, because there was just so much happening. But I needed to understand that I would wear different hats on different days, at different times in the same day. Some days I'm a best friend, some days I'm a daughter, some days I'm a coach, some days I'm a doctor. I'm a medical doctor, by the way, in case you didn't know. Just throwing it out there, right? I'm all those things at the same time. I'm somebody who loves fitness, so I have to work out, right? Try to take care of my health. I want to take care of my wealth. I want to take care of so many things. And I have to do all of that. And when I made that statement and I made that reframe, peace. Why are you thinking that it's not enough? Are you placing an impossible demand on yourself in this season that you really, try as you might, you cannot meet because it's impossible to meet it? Are you trying to give more when less would actually serve you better? Are you? Because I was there. And when I began to pull back and take a panoramic view of my life, I said, yo, let's make some adjustments here. And the first thing I needed to adjust was my expectation of what enough looks like in this season. So are you holding on to a rhythm that no longer matches your season? And are you assuming others expect what you can no longer give? Because I've had clients, I can remember two of my clients, they were dads. And my clients thought that their wives and their children needed something from them. And I literally asked those two clients at a time. I said, have your wives or children ever communicated to you that what you're saying to me is how they feel? And do you know what my two clients said? Actually, no. They've never communicated that. And sometimes we're struggling with dividing the focus because you think that people are expecting something they never asked you for. Can you release that? Just release that. Release the expectations you think people have of you and release the impossible expectations that you have of yourself. I'm coaching you today. I put on my coaching hat today. It's not just content, it's coaching. Because I want to pull something out of you. So let's ask some more questions. What does enough look like right now? Like right this moment. Think of all the areas of your life and tell me what enough looks like. Think of your business right now. Tell me what enough looks like. Think of your marriage. If you're married, what does enough look like? Think of your children. What does enough look like? Think of your career. If the business and career are separate, right? Think of the other roles that you have, whether you're a son or a daughter or a grandma. Just think of those things for me and tell me what enough looks like. And then tell me what would a sustainable version of this role really look like? What does it mean to really sustain this? Because sometimes you think momentum is always giving 100 every day, every moment when called upon. And sometimes momentum is knowing how to keep adjusting. I'll give 60, I'll give 100. Today I only have 5, but I'm giving it, I have 10, I have 100. And that's how you keep doing. That's what momentum means, right? So what are you doing out of compulsion and not conviction? You feel compelled. But one of the things I learned from Dr. Henry Cloud is don't outwardly comply and inwardly you're complaining and you're resentful. Don't do that. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. So when it's yes, say yes emphatically, and when it's no, say no emphatically and truthfully. So when you're over giving and under receiving, your focus could get hijacked. So overgiving could actually become a distraction for you in this season. Because when you're driven by the expectation that people need and want more from you, and when you're driven by the expectation that you have of yourself that you're not giving enough, you start overgiving as a tool to compensate for where you think you're falling short. So you start hijacking your own focus and sabotaging your own focus. So you're not a bad leader. You're not a bad parent. You're not a bad business owner. You're not a bad boss because you need some margin in this season. You're not selfish for protecting your energy. If your giving leaves you feeling resentful, it's time to reassess your rhythm. Reassess it. Reassess how much you're putting out. Reassess how you're putting out and who you're pouring into. Reassess. I want you to learn to adjust your strategy, not just your schedule. A lot of times we get so preoccupied with the calendar, but we don't strategize properly. So some things don't just take strength, it takes strategy. So if an axe is dull, you're going to need to whet the edge. You're going to have to sharpen that axe to put in less work. So you have to sharpen the axe of setting boundaries, sharpen the axe of letting your no be no, sharpen the axe of learning how to show up fully when you are in a certain place. Because if you don't want your focus hijacked and if you want to learn how to divide focus without losing focus, you need to sharpen certain skills in this season. The ones that you could have gotten by with that weren't so great, you have to learn now how to sharpen those skills, right? So are you doing things the way you want to or the way you need to? Because is it just a want or a need? Show up for the needs before you show up for the wants. That's how you divide focus without losing focus. Have you been too committed to what clearly isn't working? And every time you would always hear me talk about strategy. I'm a strategy junkie because I'm serious. I don't think you accomplish anything in life or you could ever have success without strategy. Sustainable success anyway. Success is not a fluke to me, especially when you are called to sustain that thing and therefore you need a strategy to be able to do that. Are you falling behind because you're afraid to pivot? Man, I can give you so many stories just in recent times. How I've had to pivot. I thought I was going one way and then it was like, yeah. And I'm saying, what? Why am I pivoting? Where did this pivot come from? But if you're really alert and you're focused, you will always see when it's time to just tweak a little something in the business, tweak a little something in your life. So no strategy works until you first adjust your expectations. And that's why I started with expectations. And now we're dealing with strategy. The next thing I want you to adjust is your circle. Adjust your expectations, adjust your strategy, adjust your circle. You were not meant to carry this alone. Managing more requires better accountability, delegation, and distribution. So let me ask you this question. Who is helping you lift the weight? You're so strong, huh? You're so good at this. You're so good at running your business. You're so good at, techie stuff, and you're so good at accounting and bookkeeping. But right now you're feeling like you're so overwhelmed and you're so overburdened. Of course, there are things you may know how to do, but it is unprofitable in this season for you to keep doing it. One of the reasons many times we don't let go is because we think we're the person who knows how to do it. You may check that box, but for you to do something, you need to ask yourself, does it check this box? Do I need to do it? I may know how to do it, but do I need to do it? And if you don't need to do it, it doesn't matter if you know how to do it, you don't do it. Are you delegating to able, willing, and dependable people? Because you don't just want to delegate tasks to people you can't rely on, or people who aren't willing to do it, or people who don't have the competence and the ability to do it. So you're looking for able, willing, and dependable people to delegate to. And have you created support systems or just stacked responsibilities? Who is your support system? And you may need support systems in your business in a certain part. So marketing and sales, financials, right? In terms of your operating systems, you may need support systems there. You have to figure out where you're flopping and failing and get the person who could do the thing. Because the answer is not how, it's who. Because the who always knows the how. So you have to begin to see the same people in your circle differently. Let me tell you, I noticed this. Because I had a circle of people around me who were multifaceted, multidimensional. And I knew them for one thing. And then because of this season I was in, I had to take a second look at them and say, oh no, you know how to help me do X, Y, and Z. So I had to enlist their help to help me in an area where I was lacking. So when you see people as weak and a lesser version of themselves, they can be less valuable to you. But I want you in this season to begin to honor the people who are around you, because you are never in a far distance from what you need. Your provision is always within your proximity. I just said that better. Your provision is always within your proximity. So you need the eyes to see what is in your proximity. Stop thinking what you need is far from you. It's right where you are. You just need to learn how to access it. You need the eyes to see it. And you need the ability to ask for what you need. So I want you to I have 4 final reflection questions for you. So what expectations are you holding on to that are no longer reasonable? Number 2, what systems or strategies need to be restructured? Number 3, who do you call to help you carry this with you? Because you need somebody to help carry the weight with you. And number 4, are you just measuring progress, or are you surviving pressure? Because I don't want you to just survive. I want you to thrive. So dividing your focus does not mean losing your focus. Dividing your focus doesn't necessarily mean cutting things off. It just means figuring out how to do more. Because more is now demanded of you. So you have to adjust your expectations, adjust your circle, and adjust your strategy. So if this video helped you, I want you to come back, like it again. Sit down with these questions, right? Don't just absorb information. You become unstoppable when the gap between knowledge and execution becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. That's the key to momentum. You bridge the gap. You bridge the gap. It must become smaller and smaller and smaller. That's how you start moving faster and faster and faster. So comment down below. I am adjusting. I am adjusting. Like this video, share it, subscribe it, come back again and again and again, as many times as you need to, because my assignment here is always simple. I'm here to help take you from stuck to unstoppable so you can profit with peace. Take good care of yourself. Until next time.